Hello everyone, welcome to episode 21 of Slapendipity, Hobos of Happy Slappy Town. My name is Gibby, but you can call me Devin, and I'm here with Eric, who you can call Eric.
Yes,
Eric, you sound kind of down in the dumps. You sound kind of tired.
um, maybe. I have built an underground system below a dumpster
So you're
and
so
gonna
you're
use the dumpster
so
as a
you're
cover.
you're down in the dumps,
Yeah, sure.
like physically, like there's a dumpster and you are down inside of it.
Yeah.
Okay, why are you hiding in the dumpster?
Um, you know, just connecting to my roots, getting in that space, getting away from the raccoons and the goblins and the it just makes you feel all snug. It's also hot and Subterran homes are cooler.
Those trash juices really cool you down on hot summer days like these.
I'm not using the trash juice to
You're
cool me
not using
down.
the trash juices?
No, I'm being like a little pig and I'm using the dirt and mud.
Yeah, the trash juices. They seep into the dirt and the mud. And they make it all cool and cozy for you.
I mean, I guess.
I have a dumpster story.
Tell me your dumpster story.
So yesterday at work, we have a big dumpster outside for garbage, and we have a big dumpster outside for cardboard.
Yeah, I
And
thought about stealing those for my cover.
one of my workers comes up to me and he's like, "When do they come and they take the trash away?" And I said, "I'm not entirely sure what day of the week it is. Why?" And he goes, "Well, the cardboard one is completely full. Like, I jumped on it. I stood on it. I jumped up and down. I got out of it. I leapt into it. I cannonballed into it. I could not get the cardboard to go down."
Mm.
And I was like, not entirely sure what we can do about that. And he's like, "Yeah, like, I don't know if it doesn't come tomorrow, there's just going to be too much cardboard. Like, there's going to be too much to get rid of, and there's going to be nowhere to put it." And so I start like thinking of all these like secondary ideas, all right? Like what can we do with the cardboard? And then I come up with this genius idea. You want to hear my genius idea?
Tell me your genius idea.
So typically the reason we have so much cardboard waste is because we get lots of boxes, right?
Right.
Okay, so then we tear down the boxes and flatten it out so it'll fit in the dumpster better. But
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
if we take the largest cardboard box and we
Uh-huh.
merely do not break it down and we put all the cardboard into the biggest cardboard box.
Oh my gosh.
And then we just like put that somewhere. Maybe like even next to
Genius.
the dumpster.
Okay.
We use the box to destroy the boxes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What is a dumpster besides a large box anyway? Right? Like let's think about this
A
philosophically.
large box on wheels.
It's a large box on wheels. And what are wheels? That's a question. What are wheels?
Uh, Spheres, kind of.
Wheels are
3D
spheres?
circles.
You would call like a car tire or a Hot Wheels tire a
Well,
sphere?
it's not a
It's like a
sphere,
slice.
like a slice.
It's like a slice. It's like if you took a slice to a sphere, I guess. I
Yeah.
would not call a wheel a sphere.
Well, I mean, I would call a wheel, but it's not a circle because a circle is 2D,
It's a three-dimensional circle. Or it's a cylinder. It's
which is a sphere.
a very thin no.
No, no, no.
A wheel is a cylinder.
3D
GG.
a 3D circle is a sphere.
A circle in
Like
three dimensions can be many shapes.
the most traditional being a sphere.
Okay, is a 3D triangle, right? Imagine a 3D triangle. Are you imagining a shape?
Pyramid?
Are you imagining a shape with 3 sides or 4 sides? Sorry, 3 faces or 4 faces. Is the base also a triangle, or is the base a square, which is a pyramid? There are 3-sided pyramids and 4-sided pyramids with the base. Yeah, exactly. It's not that simple now, is it?
I feel like it still
What are
kind of
boxes
is.
besides 3D squares?
What are boxes besides 3D squares?
Dumpsters. Keep up.
Right, okay.
No, that's it. I was watching
Oh.
a YouTube video yesterday.
What?
Keep up with the
Okay.
shapes. This is first grade, Eric. We're talking about basic shapes here.
But we went from, I'm just getting a little bit of whiplash because we're dead serious into this shapes thing, and then you're like, yeah, so that's it for my story. Anyway, I was watching YouTube.
I was watching a YouTube video yesterday. It was the newest video on the channel Did You Know Gaming? And they were talking about the person who programmed Samus's morph ball in Metroid Prime, and how even though in game the model of the ball is a sphere, the physics engine treated it like a tire. So it wasn't treated like a sphere, it was treated like a tire, because Miyamoto's thought was that, like, if a human being is curled up inside it, it would be more tire shaped than perfect sphere shaped. So they applied the physics to it so it would roll like a tire, which, as we've determined, is a cylinder and not a sphere. So if tires being cylinders and not spheres is good enough for Shigeru Miyamoto, the creator of Mario, I think it can be good enough for you, Eric.
And I, I get,
Are you speechless?
slightly. I
Okay, so
also, I mean, I know it's kind of our brand, but like this is almost too much hair splitting for shapes for me.
okay, if you took a hair and you split it, would that be more of a sphere or more of a cylinder? The fact that you don't have very strong opinions about this makes me think that you don't, like, think about this kind of nonsense all the time. It makes me think your thought processes aren't very well-rounded. Like a sphere.
You can't explain the joke. It's not funny then.
Okay, let's circle back to the beginning of this conversation. It's hot outside, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I was about to say last year, 5 years ago, you and I went to the beach, and we haven't been back since.
Yeah.
We had made very loose plans sometime this month or next month to go beaching. Do you have
Right.
any what are basically do you have any beach stories or beach opinions that you would like to share with the class?
Um, well, first of all, what is a boat?
What is a boat?
Is it a rectangle? It's gotta be. I guess you could maybe argue it's like a trapezoid.
Eric, we're done talking about shapes. You're being a very bad podcast host right now. You got to shape up, and we're going to ship out to this boat conversation.
See, look at all that setup I gave you. Um, I mean, I have
I
a
would
few
I would
beach. Oh, yeah, yeah.
No, I'm just saying I would imagine if you took a cylinder and you cut it in half the other way, that is more of the shape of a boat, right? Flat on the top, round on the bottom. That's a boat shape.
Devin, I'm trying to tell my beach story. Stop talking about shapes. Gosh.
Okay, so at work the
So,
other day, yesterday at work, same conversation I'm having about the cardboard. We have this giant, I'm going to call it an inverse boat, an opposite boat, where it's boat shaped but it's hollow on the inside. So it's basically a big round container. It's on wheels. Imagine a garbage can, but really long. And that's what we toss garbage in, and then you can wheel the garbage out to the dumpster. And it's called a boat. because like it's shaped like a reverse boat. So we're like, hey, go grab the boat so we can put the garbage away. Hey, go grab the boat so we can put the cardboard away. And I've noticed that a lot of employees are calling it the whale. And so someone asked me yesterday, is like, hey, why is it called the whale? I'm like, it's not called the whale, it's called the boat. But I guess at some point along the lines of people's like mental associations, like they were playing the suitcase game, and someone got it twisted and just started calling the boat the whale, because I guess boats and whales are similar objects, similar topics. And so now we just have half of the community, half the staff calling it the boat, half calling it the whale. It's a nightmare. This is how languages get born, and I don't like it.
It sounds like someone isn't appreciative of language
Sounds like I
and
need a
its
vacation.
fluidity.
Sounds like I need a
I mean,
vacation.
fair enough.
About
Fair
language
enough.
fluid vacation. Let's talk about the beach.
Amazing. So there's one time it's kind of boring, but right, you can't not of like I was at the beach as an adult, swimming around, doing my thing, and then I like felt a pain on my stomach, and I went, "Oh, what was that?" And I look around me, and there's nothing. But I get out of the water, and my stomach is bright red,
Oh
and
god.
in the shape of a line. And I was like, "Oh, I got stung by a jellyfish." And then I'd laid down on the beach, and I was like, "Ah, ooh." And then that was it. And I don't think I went back into the water the rest of the day.
The thing about getting cut in the ocean is like the salt water. I think it's probably good for the cut. I think that's how that works. But it just stings so badly, and like you said, it feels like you were stung by a jellyfish. But no, no, you just got cut, and then the salt water is burning.
What do you mean I got cut? I got
You get cut, and
stung
then the
by a
salt water is
jellyfish,
burning.
maybe.
Were you really though?
I mean, there was no trace of anything, but like, how did I get cut?
I don't know.
Oh,
Shells,
that's not like there
sand,
was a knife. No, because I was standing. So like,
razorfish. Are those real? Is that a real thing?
I mean, there's probably something like it.
Hmm.
I'm going with jellyfish.
Okay.
Let's see. There was one time as a child I was like, I forget exactly what you call it, but you know how like not like a rip tide, but like you know how the ocean, it goes in waves and it like pushes and pulls.
Undertow.
Yes, undertow. I got caught in an undertow and was just whirled around for like a good like 20-30 seconds, and then the ocean just slapped me back onto the beach,
Hmm.
and I was in a lot of pain, and I was like hitting my limit of holding my breath. So then I got out and kind of cried and just stayed on the beach and never went back in, and it was rough.
Yeah, as a kid, I used to go to the beach a lot, and for because of physics and stuff that I don't understand, the ocean like it'll pull you out and push you back in, and that's fun. But it also generally pushes you to one side or the other, and I'm not entirely sure how it works or like what direction or if it's always the same direction. But like I'd be in the ocean playing in the water and think that I'm in the same spot. And then after like 20 minutes of being in the
Mm,
water, you look to the shore and you've drifted a significant amount of
portion,
distance away
yeah.
from where you started. And so it was like, oh, every 20 minutes, my mom or my aunt or something would walk to us and wave, and we'd have to get out of the water and walk back to, our towel and then get back in the water. And I, it's not that I don't understand physically how it works. It's more that I'm like, is this a problem that everybody faces? If you're not set up
Yes.
for it, let's say that all you and your two buddies go in the water and you're splishy splashing around and you're in there for like a couple hours hanging out, tossing a football back and forth in the water, riding a boogie board, ducking under waves, jumping over waves, and then like, oh, it's time to get out, and you come out and you're on the beach and you're just completely disoriented and you have no idea which way your towel was, and it's packed and it's crowded and you don't know even if you find where your towel was, that like the same people who were by you when you laid it down will still be there. You don't know if any of the landmarks that you were using are still going to be there. You don't even know if you need to go to the left or the right.
Yeah.
Is that something that's ever happened to you? Do you think that that's a common occurrence?
I think that's a common occurrence. I haven't been completely lost because, I go with like friends and family, and there's, at least when I go, there's usually like at least one person who's like, I'm not going in the water. I don't care.
Losers.
I'm not going in the water. And
Loser mentality.
we're like, okay. So then, you just see that person and you're like, yeah. But that's also why you put like an obvious landmark for your thing. You get like a lime green umbrella, or like I don't know, like a Scooby-Doo towel. Like you got to make it obvious for yourself, or you like build like a sand trench or like a sand castle before you go in, so you're like, I see that sand castle. That's me.
So you have to like mark your territory. I guess my
Yeah.
not confusion here, but my thing is like I've never heard people, and people go to the beach a lot, whether it's people you know, whether it's people who live by the shore, whether it's people talking on podcasts about like, oh, we're at the beach. I've never heard people talk about the issue of drifting away from your towel before and the logistical issue that that causes, right? Like people are always like, the sand is too hot and the water is too cold. Don't you hate the beach? Womp womp. Or, oh man, there's sand, it's coarse and rough and irritating and it gets everywhere. Or, these guys were, I was running around the beach and I found some cool sea glass, right? Like, people talk about going to the beach a lot. But I never hear about people who have to contend with the issue of getting out of the water every 20 minutes to recenter yourself in front of your towel. So I guess my question is whether or not that's universal. And you're saying that to you it is.
Yeah, I would say it is universal. I don't do quite the same thing, because I am also like aware enough to be like, I'm drifting already, and I'll just swim a little to recenter. I don't let it get as bad, to the point that you did, but you were also a child, so you just got to be mindful of the ocean,
You must
and
respect it.
yeah. A separate story. It would take us. I remember one time we went to the ocean and there was a shark, and lifeguards blew their whistle and everyone got out, and we were like, "Oh, shark!" And then like, I don't know, 15 minutes later, if that, like, just no one could see the shark anymore, and we're like, "Okay, time to go again."
You just unlocked this childhood memory of this commercial that would run on Nickelodeon all the time. And it was like two kids, like a brother and a sister, in a backyard pool. And the brother would like wear these goggles over his head that had a shark fin sticking out. And like I think there were also gloves, like gloves that had shark fins on them. And like they opened up with a shark mouth. And he'd like swim under the water, and it was shot like a scene in Jaws with like the fin out of the water approaching the sister like on her inflatable tube. And then he would jump out and he looks like a scary shark man. And the sister would go like, "Aw, brother, why'd you scare me again?" And then the commercial narrator would go, "Get your Sharkman mask today." And like I
Yeah, I
don't,
remember that.
why was that product successful enough that it would have commercials running basically every year when all it is like a shark mask? Like I never saw commercials for like, I don't know, Slinkies. Did you ever see a Slinky commercial? I don't think so.
No, but I had so many Slinkies over the course of my childhood.
That's where I'm going. I'm like, I had multiple Slinkies and I never had a shark mask. So why does Shark Mask have so much money for commercials and Slinkies don't?
No. You're not understanding it correctly. Slinkies don't need commercials. Shark masks do need commercials.
So you're saying that Slinkies don't need ad? I mean, to be fair, I literally just my brain went, I need to think of a toy, and the first thing I thought of was a Slinky. So you're saying that they're so popular they don't need commercials?
Yeah, just like
Hmm.
Silly Putty.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Did you have slash play with Silly Putty as a kid?
Oh, who doesn't? You know,
But like, what did
taking
you?
it and applying it to like a comic from the newspaper and being like, haha, I've copied an image with putty.
Yeah.
Just and then just like molding and destroying it and just like stretching it out, crumpling it in.
Yeah. So I was gonna say that when I was a kid, I got Silly Putty, and then my dad showed me the newspaper thing, and I was
Yeah.
like, wow. And then did nothing with it. Like you can like squeeze it like a stress ball, I guess, and like mold it around in your hand.
One of the other things I did with it is I would break off little pieces of it, roll those little pieces into balls, and then I would have do that like maybe two more times or so, and then I would like either make like a little silly putty snowman, or I would just like mush each little ball into each other to mush back into the bigger ball and like see the addition of the little balls into the main ball and see it grow in size. Real life subtraction and addition.
And I would make it really thin, and then you stretch it, and then you can kind of see through it.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
And then it would get really, really dirty after a while. You look at fresh Silly Putty, it's almost pink,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
then it's like cardboard color after a while.
Oh, I had blue silly putty.
You blue?
Yeah,
What is this nonsense?
when you mean?
Silly Putty is pinkish brown.
No, it's blue.
No. Speaking of blue things.
The ocean? Also, just for the record, I would also fish on the beach like all the time, or like in boats.
Like you like went out on the ocean on a boat to fish?
Yeah, and did some beach fishing.
I am not I went fishing as a kid, never enjoyed it. Um
It's
you
okay.
need a certain like appreciation for fishing to do it, and then I didn't enjoy it.
Didn't have it
No.
there.
I was gonna say, speaking of blue things, ices.
Slurpees, yeah, love them.
Yeah, ices. Me and you got into
Yeah,
quite a
yeah,
tiff
yeah.
about this earlier in the week,
We did, but
where you it was this week was and contained the date July 11th,
7-Eleven,
7-Eleven, and you made a
which
comment about how
means
you didn't go to 7-Eleven to buy.
a free Slurpee.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I pointed out how annoying it is because my movie theater sells ices, where
yeah.
people will come in and just call them random things. And this happens with movies as well, right? If someone comes in and doesn't know the name of their movie, they'll just be like, "I want to see the movie with Glenn Powell." And then if the ticket person doesn't know what movie Glenn Powell's in, they're just going to be like, can you explain the plot of the movie?" So people come in and they will just with full confidence say the wrong name of a movie, and we'll have to like guess what they're talking about. But then a similar thing happens with ices, where people will come in and it says icy on the menu and it says icy on the board, and the little display model cup we have in front of people so they know what sizes things are says icy. And they'll walk up and they'll just be like, "Hey, can I have a slushy? Hey, can I have a Slurpee?" The best one I heard is someone called it a squishy, which is the off-brand slushy from The Simpsons.
It is pretty good.
Most of the time it is icy, but people will just with full confidence order the most random name you could possibly think of to give an icy that is still recognizably clearly the fact that they want an icy, but without calling it that.
Well, so and here's I didn't bring up this point in our tiff earlier in the week. Those aren't well. First of all, how dare you? People can't read. Lovingly. Second of all, those aren't like the most random names. They are literally other names of from whatever. Like Slurpees are what 7-Eleven calls it. Squishies are what The Simpsons call it. Like, they are synonymous. It's not like, oh, I want like an ice float. Like, that would be silly. But they're not calling it an ice float. They're calling it a Slurpee or a Squishy.
The name of the product, the inventor of the product, is Icy. And for whatever reason, when they branded it out to 7-Eleven, the Icy company, which gives their syrup to 7-Eleven, 7-Eleven said, we want to call this something special. We're going to call it, which one are they, Slurpees?
Slurpee.
We're going to call it Slurpee. It's the same thing. The Icy company owns both trademarks. It's just if you're buying it at a 7-Eleven, it's a Slurpee. Which is stupid. If I go and I buy a Gatorade at Target and it's called, like, you should go buy your Target Power, I'm going to be like, that's stupid. It's still just Gatorade. Other things like slushies, that's a different brand. But the name of the drink is an Icy.
Except at 7-Eleven, and it's a Slurpee.
No, why are you
And
buying
then
into the
it's...
7-Eleven propaganda? Why are you
What do
like,
you mean?
yes,
Because
I
that
will
is
appease
the
my
name.
corporate overlord. When I am in 7-Eleven, I will call it a Slurpee. When I'm not in 7-Eleven, I will call it an Icy. I will respect this naming convention. Again, I compared this. If you go and you go to Dunkin' Donuts and you order a coffee and you order it venti size, I'm going to make fun of you.
Yeah, but no one uses venti because Starbucks is dumb.
Yes, and no one uses Slurpee because 7-Eleven is dumb.
Everyone, you just said everyone uses Slurpee.
No, I said that
All
there's
your
a
customers.
I said there's a high number of people who will just call it anything besides Icy. The same way there's a high number of people who just come up with the most random names for movies. Like, they just make up their own title for movies.
I mean, well, you know. I think part of this is what I could be totally talking out my butt, right? But I think that why 7-Eleven called it a Slurpee was exactly for like confusing people and being like, no, this isn't an Icy, it's a Slurpee, and you can only get Slurpees at our stores, which implies that like we made it and we came up with it, and like you can only get good Slurpees at like 7-Eleven. Right? And then it's like, you're like, okay. And then when you go to get a similar product, you're like, yeah, it's a Slurpee because it's the 7-Eleven thing. And you can't get it anywhere else reliably.
But building like a brand identity around something that's not even your product is just very, I don't know, silly. And I think that then like obeying that
But it
is quite
worked.
silly. Oh my god.
Like, I don't disagree per se, right? Assuming this is the case, who knows, right? It could be totally something else. But like, it worked. People call Slurpees the default name for an Icy because also a Slurpee just sounds more fun than an Icy.
Does it
What's a
though?
little kid? What is a little kid gonna want? Are they gonna want an Icy, or are they gonna want a Slurpee?
Slurpee just doesn't sound appetizing.
Disagree.
I don't know.
An Icy doesn't sound appetizing.
It sounds like if you imagine like an Italian ice, but like slightly like more drinkable.
Americanized.
Slightly less solid. Less solid. Italian ice is American. It's Italian American. But just like ice less icy-ish.
A Slurpee also focuses on like the noise you make and
I don't want to
it,
hear
right?
you drinking your icy. I don't want to hear that.
First of all, that's name. Second of all, maybe you don't want to hear it, but everyone does it.
Everyone goes like,
it's how you have fun. You're like, oh boy, this is so good. Let me slurp up the rest of my drink and then throw it away.
yeah, no one wants to hear that sound. Nobody. once you hear that sound.
Then that's how you know someone enjoyed it. It's like the equivalent of cleaning your like, if you went out to dinner, ate everything on your plate, and like used the bread to clean everything up, and the chef is like, "Wow, you really liked it." That's what slurping up the bottom of a Slurpee is for 7-Eleven. And they
Oh
check the
my god.
trash can and they're like, "Wow, they really liked it."
Oh, he finished his whole Slurpee. Now he's a big boy.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Get wrecked. I have a sneaking suspicion if anyone just happened to write in the comments who they agreed with, Slurpee, rise up.
Okay, but so I kind
Slurpee
of
for
have a
life.
second. I have a second icy related question, and and this kind of also goes to my Doritos related question, which is what would you call the basic flavor of icy?
Mm,
Like if someone says icy, what do you just assume the icy flavor is?
okay, so my favorite flavor is blue raspberry. So I tend to imagine that. However, if someone said wild cherry or Coca-Cola, I would not fault them because those are. I don't know if those were the three flavors that like released, but like if you ever go to like a convenience store like 7-Eleven or a theater that like sells them or what, like it is always Coke, wild cherry, blue raspberry, and then like any other flavors.
I've seen apple, I've seen mango.
Yeah, I've seen apple, I've seen mango, I've seen mystery or whatever, but like wild cherry, Coke, blue is like those are the default.
So the correct answer, according to the company, is that the default is blue raspberry. The logo for the
Woot
blue
woot.
raspberry just says icy. The logo for the wild cherry says wild cherry. The logo for the Coca-Cola says Coca-Cola. The logo for the mango says mango. The one that just says icy is the blue raspberry.
Blue raspberry for life.
But that brings me to a similar question, same colors even, for Doritos, which is if
Nacho
someone says
cheese.
Dorito, what is the basic form of a Dorito?
So again, my favorite and preferred thinking is nacho cheese, best flavor easily, hands down. However, in the way that like the default of icy Slurpees are Coke, wild cherry, and blue raspberry, nacho cheese and Cool Ranch are the default for Doritos. You can think one of those two bags.
I think that nacho is the actual original.
I've only
Like
ever
I
seen them together.
but yes, like I would think that the correct the Dorito to end all Doritos is the nacho cheese as opposed to Cool Ranch, which sales wise they're probably the same.
Sure. But nacho cheese is more tasty.
They're both good. And here
Yeah.
we are talking about food again, Eric. What are we doing?
This is all you. You brought up ices.
Well, that's only because you brought up the ocean. I think I brought up the ocean actually.
You brought up this is what are you trying to do to me? I'm just trying to stay in the dirt and mud to cool off, and you're trying to bring some propaganda onto me.
Listen, you're
Trying
going
to
dumpster diving, and I'm bringing up actual trash.
lols.
Or junk food. That would have been way funnier. I should have said junk food. Just
Oh,
pretend
that
I
would
said
have been good.
let's re-edit that so that I came up with a better punchline. Okay, cool. Moving on.
Yes.
Oh, I got nothing. I was hoping you did.
I I was real. I, you just sounded so confident saying it. I was like, another topic to be
I
brought
was
up. This is
I was
great.
confident in you, Eric. I was confident in you.
Devin, I'm underground. I didn't see the signal.
Oh my god. Okay,
Oh my
I guess I
goodness.
do have a question. No fun segue
Uh-huh.
this time. Boo,
Okay.
boring segue. Remember many months ago when I talked about how I just kind of always assumed, based on this lie from The Simpsons, that Shamrock Shakes were not flavored minty?
Right.
Right, like I just heard this as a kid that that's not true, and I believed it.
Yeah.
Something else that I heard as a kid and just believed and is not true is the idea that there are people who are left-brained or right-brained, or that the left and right
Hmm.
parts of your brain do different things.
Right.
Is this something that you were told as a child by a trusted person like a teacher?
I mean, maybe. I just kind of remember it from like osmosis of the culture. Like, that was just a thing everyone believed. It feels like there are songs about it. Like, you know.
Can you explain the phenomenon to people who might not be familiar?
Oh, of course. So the theory is that the left brain and the left side of your brain and the right side of your brain specialize in different things, and like what is it? I think your left side is more like creative and better with language and whatever, and the right side of your brain is like logical and is good with math and whatever. And I'm pretty sure the there is like a certain like the right side of your brain controls the left side of your body, and the left
I
side of
think
your
that
brain controls the right side of your body.
that is absolutely true. Um,
Yeah, so I think maybe someone saw that and was like, what if?
yeah, it was left-brained people are more analytical and smarter, and right-brained people are more artsy and creative, and it's just like not true. Like that's just it's just
Hmm.
not a thing. Like it's just not real. And I only learned this recently because like there's all this science about like oh if you sever the very thin connection between the two hemispheres of your brain, then really cool stuff happens. Like you basically have two consciousnesses at once, right? You can show someone's left eye something and ask them to like draw it with their right hand and they can't, but they can with their left hand because like those two halves of their brain are connected, the other two halves of their brain aren't, so they can't communicate to each other. um, or like speech is processed on the left part of your brain. So if you show the right eye something, then they can verbally say what it is. But if you show the left eye something, then they can't verbally say what it is. But this has nothing to do with like being artsy or being, smartness for facts and thinking stuff. And so
Logical.
it's just a complete myth that there are people who are left-brained and people who are right-brained, or that it has anything to do with being left or right-handed or any of that stuff. But I'm just like, oh, there's the science. The left part of your brain does the words good, so therefore it probably does the other stuff too, and so it makes sense that some people are better brained the same way that some people are better handed. And it's not. I was
Hmm.
lied to by my teachers.
Hmm.
Have you
Hmm.
heard the statistic or the fun fact that like in your sleep you will eat 3 spiders?
Yeah, it's all because of like Johnny Spider-Man, who ate 10,000 spiders and was an outlier in a troll account or something. I don't know.
So the original was a chainmail from like the 90s or 2000s. Basically, this person said, "I want to see how quickly I can spread an urban legend across the internet using email." And so they made this like, in your sleep, you will swallow 3 spiders because your mouth's open. And it spread. And so when I was in 5th grade, I was told that this was a true fact because my teacher fell for this urban legend. What
Mm.
you're thinking of is this Tumblr post or Reddit post from the early to mid 2010s where someone was like, did you know that that urban legend isn't actually true? And then a commenter goes, actually, it is true. On average, humans do swallow 3 spiders, but that's because of Spiders Georg, who eats 10,000 spiders a day.
Yeah. Same
So
ball
th-
house.
this, yeah, this urban legend that like you eat spiders in your sleep or whatever spread, and you can typically tell that something is an urban legend or just isn't true if there are similar sounding but different details based on the people who are like telling you. Like one version I heard is that you swallow 3 spiders on average a night when you're sleeping. The other is that you
Mm.
swallow 3 spiders over the course of your lifespan. One of them was, well, it's true that you swallow 3 spiders, but they're microscopic spiders that you can't even see, where someone else just
Mm.
left it as like spiders. And the whole thing's not true. And when I was in college, I had a professor, and he was like, you know, it's true that you swallow 3 spiders in your sleep, but it's actually like you shouldn't be like upset about that. Spiders are actually very high in protein. And he said this on like the second or third day of class, and I just remember thinking like, how am I supposed to take this man seriously as my professor if he just shared with his class this widely debunked myth and then provided his own like additional context to it that he probably just made up about how it's actually a good thing? How am I supposed to trust this man to be my college professor if he doesn't know the spiders thing is wrong and then just spreads it to his class?
But that's you can say that about everything. Your teachers are fallible. They make mistakes.
It's not so much that like his knowledge was incorrect, it's more that he had the attitude as someone who was teaching people to not critically think about the information that he was spreading.
Mm.
Like he never asked himself like, should I double check and verify this before telling a bunch of people who I specifically am, there's the implicit promise that I will
Responsible
be
for
teaching them
educating.
knowledge. Yeah. And so that kind of just like ruined his class for me.
Mm. Fair. Fair. I want to go back to the brain thing super quick.
Okay.
Do you know about Phineas Gage?
The Railroad Man?
The Railroad Man.
The Railroad Man. Tell us about the Railroad Man.
Back during, I think, the Industrial Revolution, 1800s, 1900s, there was a man, Phineas Gage. He was a sweet, nice man, and he worked on construction of, like, the railroads and stuff. And, uh, it's gonna get a little graphic here. Uh, when he was working one day, a piece, like an iron rod, pierced his skull and went through his into his brain, and then he lived, and they successfully removed it. He continued to live, but after the accident, he like sweared a lot more, and he started drinking more, and you know he kind of just became a jerk, and no one liked him, and everyone was like, well, this is weird though, because he was like a sweet, nice man, and now I hate him. Um, and it's the part of the brains that like got damaged from his accident are like now thought to control the your I guess conscience, like your niceness, your attitude towards people, etc. That's what left brain, right brain reminded me of.
Yeah, and this kind of falls in line with like lobotomies, where
Mm,
like, oh, you have a mental illness, we're just gonna remove parts of your brain. And then like it works.
but with
Like
huge drawbacks.
huge side effects. It kills you partially, or like sometimes people just die. But like it did technically work, and we're not entirely sure why it worked. There's this one lady. I'm gonna totally butcher the retelling of the story, but she was like she's part of a famous family, like a Rockefeller or Kennedy or something. And she just drilled a hole in her head And then she was like suffering from serious mental illness, and then she drilled a hole in her head, and then she was fine. And she like swore by it as like this thing that worked. And I don't know, it was just weird. Obviously, we don't do lobotomies anymore. Lobotomies were bad.
Yeah,
Um,
don't stick things into your skull, into your brain to
yeah.
try and.
But like it made sense at the time, I guess, that they're like, there are parts of your brain that are bad. Let's just take them out.
I mean, that was, I want to say, a thing they did in like medieval times, right? Where they were like, oh, you like have a headache, which means you have pressure built up in your head. Let's drill a hole and let the pressure out.
Hmm. Back in the, you know how we think of like brains as having like processing power, and like we think
Yeah,
of brains in terms of computers, right?
yes.
Back in the day, they conceptualized the brain as something more akin to a steam engine.
Mm,
So, it worked the way that a steam engine worked. And so, yeah, they thought that you could get like hot headed, and they thought that there was a buildup of steam pressure in your head, because that's the only way that they could imagine that it would work, is using the highest technology of the day, which were steam engines.
hmm.
Yeah, big spooky.
Well, and before that, we had the biles, though. I forget who invented that.
Yeah, I mean, bile's a real thing, but black bile and blood and all that stuff. And I can't
Yeah,
remember what
black.
those were called.
The biles?
The humors, those were called humors.
Oh,
The six humors or something.
yeah, it's blood, phlegm, pee and poo, and is it just four? I think it's just
I
four.
I think it was
It's not
four. Yeah,
six.
blood, phlegm, yellow bile, black bile. Yeah.
Yeah. And they each control different things.
Yeah, and people were like, "Oh, you have good blood, so you're gonna be a happy person."
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which, that's more fun to me than like you're a steam engine.
that's more fun to me than like, "Oh, you're a Sagittarius."
LOL. No, but Devin, don't you get it? As an Aquarius, I'm just built this way.
As a left-brained high blood, let me tell you about today's musical composer, LeGrand Chase.
No, the composer is Kevin MacLeod.
Oh, for LeGrand Chase?
Yeah.
Okay, let's listen to some of it.
Hello and welcome back from our little break. And, I like to jump around, so I was thinking about the spiders thing, but I'm a nerd, so I got fantasy on the brain. And then I was listening to, this was not all in the break, unless it was. And then I was thinking about this song I was listening to where, uh, it's a song about sirens, like the mythical creatures. And then, thanks to a YouTube channel I've been watching, I was thinking about, well, if you're a siren, a harpy is basically the same thing as a siren. They just traded out, like, the ocean for flying and vice versa. Like, I don't know which one came first. Right? But the premise is the same of, like, you're, you know, seduced or lured in by like either a siren song or like a harpy's song, and then they eat you. So then I was thinking, Devin,
Mm.
if you could be a fantasy creature, what would you be?
You could have gone so many places. When you started talking about that, I'm like, oh yes, this is just like the relationship between the Zora and the Rito in The Legend of Zelda. Or I thought you were going to be like, there's the water sexy lady, and there's the sky sexy lady. Is there an
Where's the
air sexy lady?
lance?
Is there a fire sexy lady? This is Greek mythology, right? So like, shouldn't it be the four Greek elements? And I'm like, is a succubus like a land? A land sexy lady? Is that what
Ooh.
that is?
I
Big
mean,
things.
succubus are from Hmm.
I don't know enough about them besides knowing that they're sexy ladies.
Well, they're sexy ladies, and they enter your dreams and feed off of your life force.
Like they specifically in real world mythology enter into your dreams.
I'm pretty sure.
Okay. See, that's like ethereal sexy lady. So we still don't have a land
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
We need a land sexy lady. If you guys know any land sexy ladies for Eric, leave them in the comments below.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Do not. No, thank you. Phrasing. Jeez.
Listen, you've had
Jeez.
issues with online dating. I think it's time for some on land dating.
Listen, I may have been on a tightrope for all of online dating, but like, that was a conscious choice.
As opposed to an unconscious choice, like when you're asleep and the succubus comes into your dream.
Yeah. You know, the succubus is the only one that has a male variant, the incubus. It's this exact same thing, but the monster is a guy instead of a girl.
Aren't
And like,
aren't
hmm?
sirens? I might be wrong, but aren't sirens and mermaids like typically the same thing?
No. Well, I think it depends. I think there's like, you know, I mean, mermaids are like the kinder version. Uh, but in terms of like biology, I think it's kind of just up to whoever. It might be a more modern thing that like a siren has like is more fish-like and a mermaid's more human-like
Like
or
my
whatever. But
understanding was that like sailors saw manatees and
yes,
imagined sirens and also imagined mermaids, like from the same sort of like
yes,
like they the same they evolved from the same tales at the seas of manatees.
tails. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
manatee tails. Okay. I don't
As
know
far
much
as I
about
know, at
mythology.
least. That's
All right.
okay.
So your question, fantasy creature?
Yeah.
Are we talking like I have to be a snake person, or can it be as simple as like I would be a a an elf, like boring,
No,
or does
you
it
gotta
have
be
to be
like a
like
monster.
okay, like non-human monster type thing?
Right. You gotta be like a, oh gosh, a minotaur or a dragon or whatever.
Well, I don't want to have to work at the post office, so I would definitely go with something that could fly. Because if I am not going to be human, I definitely want to be something flying. Um,
Mhm.
are there like eagle people in mythology? Flying people, avian people? Is that a thing?
I mean, there's sphinxes.
That's more like
Uh,
I want to be more like bipedal.
Bruh, you'd
I,
be a sphinx, you'd be part lion.
I want
And with the intelligence of a human, you wouldn't. It's the ultimate combo. Um, let's see. A flying mythological thing. Why am I blanking so bad?
I want to be Icarus,
I
but
mean,
it's
I
a
guess.
bird.
Lols. You could be a harpy,
I want to be a male harpy. There we go. Correct answer. I'm a male harpy.
so that you're gonna sing people to their doom.
I already do that, but I don't sing. It's more like spoken word. I'm like, hey, little Timmy, please follow me to the edge of the earth. But instead of singing and luring him over, I'm just talking about FNAF lore.
LOL. Um, okay, so we're a little silly. I don't know if we would like fairies, which like maybe we could count for this topic, maybe not. A griffin, a harpy, a hippogriff, a thunderbird, a phoenix, ooh, a pegasus.
Would you
Or you're
really want to
just
be
gonna
something like? Would you want to be something that can be ridden on?
just don't get caught
Like I guess I'm thinking of more of like what's the D&D race that are bird people?
or
Like the
croaker,
yeah that or again like a Rito from Zelda.
right?
Right, like that's more what I'm thinking. Bird person from Rick and Morty,
Lols.
There's like I'm pretty sure, like the bird god from the Egypt.
Raw?
Is he a bird? If he's a bird, then that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to be a person, but I can fly. Optional having like a bird head. If I have to have a bird head, that's fine. But I just want to be a flying person.
I mean, Raw does not have. Well, in his human depiction, he does not have wings. Although I'm not as knowledgeable about Egyptian mythology yet, so maybe he could grow them. Unclear.
What's your answer?
I don't know. There's so many answers. I think I do kind of agree in the sense that like I do kind of want to fly because like flying could be cool. Although if I still have my fear of heights, that would not go well.
Do you think that birds have fears of heights? I don't think so.
I
I think they can
maybe
fly.
as maybe as a baby when they're a little chick and then the parent like kicks them out of the nest and they're like oh gosh, and they flap their bird wings and then they start flying and they're like I'm doing it, ma, no hands.
Well, yes, hands, but they're just wings.
Wings aren't hands, Stefan.
I'm pretty sure that they are actually, like from an evolutionary standpoint, bird wings and human hands and blue whale flippers are very similarly structured.
uh I mean, maybe, I guess.
I could also have just completely made that up.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily trust it.
Remember, if you're listening to this, you should not think of us as teachers who are imparting knowledge onto you. You should think of us as silly podcasters who don't know the difference between shapes. And as I
I
say
mean,
in
that's
my award-winning news series that I won a prize for, but I'm not going to show you. It's at my girlfriend's house in Canada. My award-winning news series, Week in Weird. You should never trust the media. You should only trust cryptic symbolism in your dreams.
beautiful. I think I might go for a Sphinx.
Or if you are a sphinx, are you compelled to tell riddles?
I mean, maybe, but like, how else am I gonna kill the time, you know?
Do you have... I think that everyone should know one magic trick. I think everyone should know one joke. I think everyone should know one riddle. Do you agree with this, and do you have one of each of those?
One of each? No, because I don't know magic tricks, because magic is hard, and I never looked into it. It might not even be hard. But I kind of agree that, like, you have a little icebreaker thing that you can, like, show people, or you can be like, aren't I so quirky? Look at this thing I can do. And you do the thing.
Like any amount of party tricks, like, oh, I'm double jointed. Oh, I can
Yeah,
take a
I
thing.
can flip my eyelids inside out. Don't recommend people trying that. I'm an experienced person who has been doing that. and it gets harder the older you get, so
I can
danger.
vibrate my eyes.
Oh, me too. It's fun. Um, what else? I mean, my elbows are weird. I don't know. People always freak out when I lean on them. It's not quite. It's not double jointed. It's like one and a half jointed, I guess. I don't know. What do you got for those though?
Um, I have a go-to joke that I'm terrible at telling and have never successfully told before. So I wouldn't necessarily
What
call it a go-to joke
what better way though
than to practice
than
on the
on the
podcast.
podcast? Yeah.
Okay, okay. All right, so Jesus and his disciples stop in a town. They've been wandering in the desert. Their shoes, the soles have fallen off their shoes. Their robes are torn and tattered. They go to a laundromat and they run them through the wash, and they come out and they're all like stained now and they don't work, and they're like, oh God, we need new clothes. So they go to the local clothing store and they go to the manager and they say, hey, we need some new clothes. And the manager's like, okay, well, I'm going to need some time to get your measurements and stitch them all together, but I have the materials. It's just going to take me some time to make them. And Jesus goes like, well, if you show me the materials, I can just like turn them into clothes. And so the storeman goes, okay, wow. And so he produces the cloth, and Jesus waves his hand over them, and they turn into these perfectly sewn robes. And the manager goes, wow, what's your name? And Jesus says, I am Jesus Christ, I am the Son of God. And the manager's like, wow, wow, okay. So I know that you're wandering around, JC, but like, can you just stay and can you help me in my shop? Because if you can just wave your hand over these rags and turn them into garments, I can make a lot of money. And Jesus is like, I think I can do that. So every day he comes in the shop, and the manager's like, yo, JC, what's the news? And Jesus is like, well, I just baptized 3 people. And the manager's like, wow, I sold 3 robes today. That's amazing. And he'd go and he'd cut the cloth, and Jesus would wave his hand over it and turn it into garments. And the manager would go, wow, thank you so much, JC. And he would take the garments and he'd go to market and he'd sell them, and he'd come back and he would give Jesus half the money. And Jesus would say, hey, I don't need money. And the manager would say, listen, JC, I think you should take this gold and you should bring it to the temple and you should donate it. Think of this as my donation to your God, to your religion. I'm a very big supporter. I'm very thankful for all your help. And so at the end of his time there in the town, Jesus and his disciples were leaving on their donkeys, and they come up to the clothing store one last time, and Jesus goes inside and he says, Mr. Manager, sir, I'm going to, thank you for your help and your donations. I'm going to bless you and your families, so that, you always receive good, hard work ethic for you and your heirs, and money and all the success you could ever want in life. And the manager says, once again, thank you, JC. You've made me and my family rich and wealthy, and we are also now rich in the light of God. And Jesus says, no, thank you very much, my child. And they leave town. And you know what that manager went on to do?
Make J.C. Penney?
No, he made Lord and Taylor. Were you even listening?
No. I think J.C. Penney works as well, though.
That's the misdirection, Eric. That's the joke.
It's fair. It's fine.
The first time I heard that joke, I lost my mind. And it never gets the reaction out of people that I hope for, but god darn, that's my favorite joke.
I mean, fair enough. It was good. It was fun. I enjoyed the ride.
I cracked myself up. Okay, I have a magic trick I'm very bad at that obviously is visual and I can't demonstrate it. I can vibrate my eyes. Do you have a go-to joke? I know you said you don't have a magic trick. Do you have a joke?
I think instead of jokes, I just talk about floxinosity hillyfillification.
Okay, so you have a go-to like fun fact.
Yeah. Or like instead of jokes, I'll have like little stories of how like crows are super smart and they can like exchange gifts with each other's as well as humans. There's like a little story of this family, I forget exactly where, living in a city like Chicago or something, and the daughter, who's a child at the time, like 5 or whatever, she would like throw peanuts out or whatever in the backyard, and the crows would be like, hot diggity dog, and take them and whatever, and they'd sometimes bring back stuff that they thought was cool, like a shiny rock or a button, and the mom would also like go out with the girl, right? So like make sure everything was fine. So one day the mom and the girl are walking in the city, and the mom's a photographer or something, and she's like taking pictures, and she gets home and she realized she lost the lens cap to her camera. Oh no. And she's like, well, I guess I'll just have to buy a new one. And then the next morning, like as the peanuts and stuff have been exchanged, the crow brings back and drops on the table the lens cap that the mom lost. And she's like, wow, thank you, Mr. Crow. The end. We love crows on this podcast.
We do. I would be a crow person if I was a mythological creature.
Yeah, crows are cool. Yeah.
All right. I guess the thing I was leading to this whole time, since you said you were going to be a sphinx, is if you have a go-to riddle that you tell people.
So, like, if I turned into a sphinx, the riddles would come to me.
Ugh.
I don't know riddles.
You don't know any riddles?
I mean, I know, like, what creature walks on four legs in the morning, blah, blah, blah.
The Sphinx is literally called the Sphinx's riddle. I think it's called the Sphinx's
Yeah,
riddle.
yeah.
Okay, tell it. Maybe someone hasn't heard it.
What creature walks on four legs in the morning, two legs in the afternoon, and three legs in the evening?
I don't know, Eric. What does?
Man! When you're a baby in the morning, you're crawling around, you're on all fours. In the afternoon, you learned how to walk. And then in the evening, you're an old person and you need a cane.
Wow.
Wow, isn't that magical? Doesn't that just make you. Oh, I would also have a riddle that's like, say friend and enter, but you would have to say friend in like Spanish or something.
Okay, so I was about to say there's a very famous there's a group of very famous riddles from The Hobbit. I believe the chapter is called Riddles in the Dark or something. Um, are you familiar with the story of The Hobbit to know what the three riddles are?
No.
Okay, so the two important ones is the
Okay.
way that the one that like Bilbo eventually wins with, where he says, you know, the riddle is, what do I have in my pocket? And Gollum's like, what do you like? That's not a riddle, and then they get mad. But the big one that people talk about is 30 white horses on a red hill. First they champ, then they stamp, then they stand still.
It's teeth.
Yes, you knew it. Oh my god.
Wow.
I think I'm not entirely sure um if Tolkien rewrote the riddles when he rewrote The Hobbit. I don't remember, but there's like a bunch of them.
Hmm.
But yeah, those are the two ones I remember. Have you read The Hobbit?
No, I don't read books.
Boo. If you were a sphinx and
I
you didn't have
mean,
hands, would you be like, wow, I wish I could read?
I guess you always miss what you don't have.
Yeah, exactly. Like all the
But like,
customers who come to the theater who you said couldn't read the ices.
yeah,
They didn't have their
yeah.
brains. Their brains were knocked out
Well,
by railroad irons.
are you okay? Do you need to spend some time underground and cool off?
I was just circling everything back around.
Yeah, but
That's...
it got a little aggressive.
I really don't like the customers at the theater. There's this lady. Let's end this episode on this tale. This lady
Okay.
came in and she went to one of the cashiers, like one of the food. She went to the bartender and was like, I
Okay.
want nachos, and the bartender said, okay, I'll get you nachos, and the lady said, I want extra toppings, and so the bartender rings in like extra cheese, right? Because in the system on our POS, our point of sale, there's a button for like $4 extra cheese. And the lady's like, oh, I don't want extra cheese. I want extra, like, beans, extra jalapenos, extra, like, sauce, extra this, extra that. And my employee is like, okay, well, the only thing I can ring you up for is extra cheese. And the lady's like, no, I don't want to pay more. And the girl's like, then I can't get you extra toppings. And the lady's like, every time I come here, I ask for extra toppings and they never charge me. And the girl's like, okay, well, I can't do that. I'm sorry. And so the lady stomps off to her theater. And the girl, like, types in extra toppings to, like, the food comment section. And then she goes and she walks in the kitchen and she's like, this lady wanted extra toppings. I told her I couldn't do it. I wrote it in anyway. Like, Mr. Kitchen Man, do whatever you want. And she leaves, and then she goes and she finds one of the managers. Not me, it was one of the other managers. And she's like, this lady wants extra toppings. I told her no. I said that we could charge her for it, but, like, it would look weird on the receipt, but we could still charge her for it. And she said no, that she gets free toppings. And the manager was like, don't worry, I'll deal with it. So the manager goes into the theater and finds the lady and is like, hey, so just so you know, we can't give you extra toppings for free. And then he leaves. The kitchen man puts the extra toppings on the food anyway.
Yeah.
So we bring her food with extra toppings that she was not charged for. And she eats it. And during the movie, she comes out and she goes and she finds the bartender and she starts yelling at her. And she's like, why do you think it's professional that you went and told your manager about me wanting extra toppings? My bartender was like, actually, I think it is professional that you were asking me for something I'm not allowed to give you. And so I went and I asked the manager if he could fulfill your request. And the lady's just like, why are you raising your voice at me? And my bartender was like, I'm not I'm not raising my voice at you. Like, I'm trying to speak with you. And so this lady just yelled and yelled and yelled at my bartender until she cried about the fact that she did get her extra topping nachos without paying extra for them, and that the bartender had the audacity to go and ask permission from the manager for giving out something for free. And that lady deserves to swim in garbage under a dumpster. Good night, everybody.
What a Karen.
Yes, the definition of a Karen. Do you have anything else to say?
I don't know. I'm just kind of stunned.
No, that was
Like,
it was a rough one.
what the heck, man?
I think we're going to leave our audience to stew in that one while they listen to the grand chase.
One last time.
One last time. We'll see y'all next week.
Okay, put her by the trash can dumpster since it's full. Put her in the whale.
Put her in the whale. Bring it out to the dumpster. Lay her under the cardboard where she belongs.
Bye, everybody.